Hi guys, first I want to say it's my first conference, so I'm very excited to be here and hope not to mess it up. Well, I'm going to present you two disasters that happened in the Israeli Air Force back at 1997 and 1977, which had killed more than 100 soldiers and staff. First, I want to thank Daniel here. He's my instructor to my thesis, and Avinoam, which is my second one. Overview briefly of what I'm going to talk about this lecture is the helicopter brief to let you understand exactly what is the CH-53 and its complexity. The second one is to just present you the accidents themselves. The Israeli Air Force accident analysis model, what did the Israeli Air Force found on their investigation, cost analysis of hazard and safety constraints, IAF safety control structure, which will be very interesting, and of course, example of the CAST findings, and a comparison in front of mixed ones. Now, helicopter brief. The CH-53 actually is one of the most, is a utility aircraft, is doing with evacuation, with rescue and evac. That's what the helicopter does. In service in the IAF from 1969 is one of the oldest vehicles we have there. And all the Israeli models, CH-53A, we are the unique operator of the CH-53A, the Israeli Air Force, and CH-53Ds that I think only the German now has them. The US Navy operates the E model, which is completely different dynamically and electronically. So now let's, when we are familiar with the CH-53, let's go to the 1977 accident. What happened there is that one of the aircraft, tail number 360, took off for a planned formation flying training. Formation flying training is that you fly in a structure of 2, 3, or 4 aircraft in a basic structure. It can be like that when you are in 2. It can be like that or any other structure that you define at the beginning. A formation flying training of 3 doubles, which means 6 aircraft, from at night near the Jordan Valley. It's, if you can see there, this is the area. And they flew from Machanaim to around Jericho. Now, the aircraft was grounded due to a mechanical problem, and the other 5 aircraft actually took off and left the aircraft at Machanaim. The malfunction was repaired, and then it took off as a single one, which means we are no longer in a formation flying. We're now on a single flight. At height of 300 feet and speed of 80 knots, the aircraft crashed into a mountainside near Jericho, which is there. 54 soldiers and staff were killed. Now, the IAF, what they found is that on, just a second, okay, then something else. Okay, for some reason, one of the slides is missing. Okay, let's talk about the Mission Investigation Board findings. They found, or they classified it as a pilot error. The pilot was wrong. He flew at low altitude with sight limits because, of course, the darkness of the night. Squadron commander told them to fly at low altitude, and it was wrong. Wrong debrief. Again, fly at the lowest altitude. Again, human being, human being, human being. And these are all 7 conclusions of mix of the Mission Investigation Commission. Wrong datum point, they found a wrong datum point mark on the map. What does it mean? And no update of engine performance graphs. Now, let's go to the 1997 accident. On February 3rd, 1997, two CH-53 had an operational transport mission to transfer soldiers to the post from Israel to Lebanon. On February 4th, it actually was cancelled because of weather conditions. Now, on February 4th, these two aircraft actually took off in order to take those soldiers to their posts because the weather became clear. They flew to Mahanaim Airport, which is near the border of Lebanon. And 8 minutes after departure, one of the aircraft actually, one of the aircraft's tail rotors actually hit the second one main rotor. They flew in formation flying, and it took the aircraft 903 took a turn into its tail rotor, and 73 soldiers, both aircraft were crashed, and 73 soldiers were killed. It was the largest disaster by this year on a helicopter history ever. By this year, on 2003, I think the US Army broke it at Afghanistan. Now, the 1997 governmental MISHIP investigation was actually classified the accident as the same accident that happened on the 1977 one. Pilot error, it was mistaken. It took the left turn and it didn't have to. Both pilots were not qualified as a formation flying leaders, and however, they took a formation flying mission. Night vision device limited the sight area, as you can see here. The sight area when you use a night vision device is quite limited, and you cannot see a lot of your environment, and it was a contributing factor. And both aircraft takeoff weight have reached the maximum limit. No CVR, no weather condition, no behavioral, no signs of competition that the behavioral analysis can tell anything about it. No evidence of technical malfunction, just a pilot error. Well, because there was no CVR, there was no black box on those helicopters, no one knew exactly what happened on this accident, so they took all the investigation findings to NASA, and they tried to simulate it, the accident, what happened 1 minute before it happened. Now, this is a simulation that I did using the information on MIG's report. So, 7 minutes or 1 minute before the accident, both aircraft actually flew in formation flying. They flew like that, one after the other as they used to. 50 seconds before the accident, now this is an important issue that I will touch later on, they had to do something that is called a mutual light inspection, which is you have to make sure, before you go to a hostile environment, you have to make sure your lights are off. Meaning, you have to check the other aircraft lights that they are off. So the 357, which was the aft aircraft in the structure, went actually to fly parallel to 903. So they looked like that. Now, 30 seconds before the accident, actually 357 accelerates in order that the 903 can see his lights are off. So they are looking like that. For some reason, now, 15 seconds before the accident, what happened is their 903 took the wrong turn into its tail rotor and hits its tail rotor. Both aircraft actually crashed into the ground and killed the 72 soldiers and crew. Now, case analysis of the accident. I took all the unclassified information because most of the report, I have to say, are classified, which means I don't have a lot of details to work with, but I took the unclassified details and into a cost analysis. Now, as you can see here, the safety 1 through and 3 safety constraints and hazard are quite the same to a lot of other accidents that we saw before. But here, the contribution of cost to this accident is actually by hazard 4 and safety constraint 5 and 4. Helicopter, one or both, can lose formation flying, which is exactly what happened. And the safety constraint that the IAF actually wrote in order to prevent it is that verbal communication, when you lose contact, when you lose visual contact, you have to use verbal communication and coordination between the pilot. It must exist during the flight time in order to keep the formation. Now, a second thing is that crew assignment must be in accordance with the pilot's qualification and health state. And let's see what happened when you try to analyze it using CAST. Probably you don't see anything because it's a very complex safety control structure, but what we have to understand is that the management level actually consists all the headquarters, the IAF headquarters and the IDF headquarters. And another thing that we can see here is that we actually have a development factor which is part of what the IAF does each and every day, which is Sikorsky. Sikorsky tells us exactly how to operate the helicopter, which means we have to follow what they say. Now, if we break it down to the management level, you can see here the IAF headquarters, IDF headquarters, IDF division. IDF is the Israeli Defense Forces, so what you call the troops. IAF is the Israeli Air Forces. IAF divisions, IDF field units, the IAF field units, and we're going to get back to them later on today, and the physical level, which is this one. What is the physical level? Both aircraft, of course. On the 1997 accident, on the 1977 you only have one, but it looks the same. Tail number 903, you have the pilot, co-pilot, and airborne mechanics. You have two of them at each aircraft. Airborne mechanics is the flight engineers on the Army. That's the same. Panels, flight controllers, autopilot and pilot control, same as the car that you just mentioned earlier today, and the aircraft position. Now, let's talk about the examples of the CAST finding that I found, which are not exactly findings, but a lot of questions because they don't have details, not because it's classified, but because it was never investigated. Now, let's talk about the night vision device that I told you that limits the sight area. These are the hazard related to this machine. The first one is that the helicopter can lose safe distance between them, and of course it can get to uncontrolled maneuver because you have a sight limit. Now, what are the three options that happen here? The first one, what you can see here is a zoom in actually of the hierarchical level or the constraint that got broken during the analysis. The first one is that the pilots were not aware of, they didn't know about this inherent night sight device limit of 40 degrees. The second one is that apparently the pilots never complained about it. They were never trained to use these night devices and to actually train its limits. Now, the third one is that the pilot complained, but no action was taken. So if you look over the structure, you can see that something is wrong here, 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 or end. Now, the second thing is that thing of training and allocation. Let's talk about the concept for a second. The context is that the mission comes above safety. We're talking military, okay? It's the mission and then safety. Now, when you look over the context, you can see three things that went wrong and were never investigated. The first thing is that the squadron leadership encouraged the pilot to fly at low altitude with sight limits. Why is that? Regardless that it was night, there was environmental conditions and everything, no defined training procedure to fly at low altitude. And we're talking about 1977, of course. Squadron personnel did not report the technical issue that they had. Who knew about it? You cannot allocate an aircraft with a technical issue to such mission. Now, the colors in here shows exactly what got broken inside the structure, and you can see it's a lot. Third thing is that about training and allocation is that you allocated pilots that were not trained to be a formation flyer leader. How come? They never trained formation flyer. So no evidence of even checking the trainings was, the training protocol was mentioned or investigated inside the report. So if there was a protocol, there is a serious of question of why no one, a series of questions that no one asked. Second thing, if there was no protocol, how does the IAF define a formation flying? It's a big question. How can you take a mission and tell your pilots you're going to a formation flying mission with not even knowing what is that? And the second thing, was it even raised from the squadron management? We have a problem on the management level of the structure. Fourth thing, is that mutual light inspection I mentioned before. No evidence of training protocol for such mutual light inspection. How come? So the training was not provided to the pilots, and they were never done it before, and they didn't know exactly what to do. And maybe this is the reason why they crashed. About crew exchange. During the malfunction that I told you on the 1977 accident, during the malfunction, we had actually a crew exchange. They changed the pilot, the co-pilot, and the airbornes. So what I asked myself, because again, I had no information to know that for sure, was the crew exchange approved by the squadron? Because it had to. The management had to know it. And was it even reported? Did someone report? Did the new crew participate on the debrief? Not sure. Did the new crew have, again, a formation flying leader qualification? Not sure. The sixth thing, actually, and the last one, is that flight direction. If you remember, one of the findings was that the datum point in the map was not right. So how come all 5 other aircraft flew to the north, and this specific aircraft flew to the east-south? Where was the air traffic control unit and tower? They had to warn the pilots. Why there was no warning sent to the aircraft? And this is a continue of that, did the pilot contacted the tower to tell them exactly where they are? Because if not, how did the tower know that they flew to the wrong direction? No protocol of preparation of flight accessories. The map is a flight accessory. Who prepared it? Who approved it? These questions were never asked or were never investigated, no information about it, and again, not because it's classified. Now, in comparison with the Mission Investigation Commission report, you can see here a summary of the examples I just gave you. On the 1977 accident, the flight direction thing, no reference. The night vision thing was classified as a contributing factor with no inspecting or even checking if there is or there isn't the protocol. On both accidents, improper training, systematic mission above safety context that was never investigated. Now, no reference, no behavioral analysis, no reference of safety protocol. The only thing after the 1977 accident that I'm going to show you in 2 slides is that the Air Directorate, which was a weakness in the structure, was actually taken care. Now, the colors you see here are what's happening in the IAF today, which means we found a systematic, by using CAST, we find a systematic hazard in the IAF between 2 periods that, as you can see here, 2 of them are still red, which means never taken care of. The safety culture was changed during this 20 years period between the 1977 accident and today, but it lived between the period of both accidents. Basic non-routine procedures are missing. Formation flying, I don't know if they have or have no definition to that even today. The structure of the IAF Air Directorate and Material Directorate is an Achilles heel in the structure. It possesses too many spans of control. It contains too many feedback loops, which means you cannot control it. You have to do something with your structure. They did something with the Air Directorate, nothing with the Material Directorate. The IAF risk analysis is still using the Swiss cheese or the linear cause and effect models to investigate accident. Nothing changed. Active communication between the IAF and the Israeli Aviation Authority. Actually, the IAF is a single authority on military aircraft and military missions. So, and it still is. General conclusion, using STAMP, I found a lot of weaknesses in the hierarchical structure of the IAF. Now, the formation flying matter was never discussed. I don't know if it even was inspected in this time period. And after the 1977 accident, though, the Air Directorate structure was declared as a weakness, and it was divided into two separate directorates, to Helicopter Directorate and Air Directorate, which does only training of flyjet. And this is all they do for long training agenda. Now, I will present this presentation, as you see here, to the IAF commanders. Hopefully something will change there. And that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yep. You didn't mess it up, I don't think. That was excellent. Questions? I have a... Yeah, there's a question up there. Yeah, you go first. You go first. Yeah, have to keep it.
So thank you for the great presentation. I really like that. To me, this presentation showed a huge difference to the other presentations. So being a little bit atypical. So the huge impact of the organization and the human structure, or how you structure organizations in the whole matter how to operate system, and so explaining why systems are socio-technical, in fact. So from the methodology side, would you confirm my opinions that the better way to have in future such investigations taking place is making the cast, taking the indicators, the causes, as a pattern to design the questionnaires for investigating the truth behind, or the facts behind what happened there?
Definitely. The cast analysis found more profound outcomes than the Swiss cheese or whatever they done there at the IAF. Now, what we have to understand is that probably it's not something that happened yesterday. It's something that lives with us in the culture of the organization, and we have to change it. So yeah, we have to look back over the other accidents, incidents, or almost accident that we had, and find a pattern, a generic pattern of something that happened.
So brilliant tool for change management.
Hopefully,
great thing.
I am not an IAF commander, but I can try and convince them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that a question here, Frank? Yep, we're doing it again. Yep, excellent.
I wanted to build on that question, and do you think that the cast with interviewing, so or still investigating, can be an iterative process?
Iterative process?
Yes.
It depends on what you're trying to search for. If I'm doing a case study for a thesis, then yes, I will be very interested in systematic things that happen. But when you're searching for one case study or one accident, because the accident happened yesterday morning and you want to analyze what happened, I don't think it's the time to do that. You understand?
Okay. Your chance is coming after the break, yeah. I have a question for you. You're going to present to the Directorate of the Air Force, you were saying. These two accidents happened quite a long time ago. How can you convince them that some of the things which you have found are still a problem in the Israeli Air Force today?
Because as you could see here, some of the problems still exist. Some of the problems were not taken care of. If I'm going back to the to this slide, you see both of these findings or outcomes are still there. The IAF is still a single authority, no good communication. And the second thing is that the risk analysis you're doing is found the blame on someone and not the real thing that happened for a reason.
Okay.
And that is my...
You have examples from more recent times?
Yeah, I have to say that I found like 30 outcomes or 30 findings by using CAST. And as you could see on my first slide, they have found 7 or 10 on the 9077. So when you actually compare them together, that's my case.
Okay, well...
Interesting to see what the future will be.
Yeah,
it's very interesting, and hopefully they will be open-minded to actually change things.
I'm hoping for you. But I'm wishing you a lot of luck with your thesis defense as well. Another round of applause for Kanarit, please.